Welcome to the first episode of the Motley Fool's AI Edge series, where we bridge the gap between AI technology and investing in a foolish way. Today's episode, I am joined by an amazing guest to discuss why investors should incorporate AI into their investing framework. But before we jump into the interview, I want to let you know about an exciting AI event that's coming up next week. On January 6th, the Motley Fool will be hosting an AI 2025 event, where Motley Fool analysts will share their number one AI trend for 2025 and one stock they believe will benefit from this third wave opportunity. You can find out all the details at ai2025.fool.com. You won't want to miss this. Welcome, Asit, and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Jose. I'm really excited to explore some of these topics with you.
So I think the viewers just want to get straight to the meat. Why would an investor want to incorporate AI into their own framework?
It's a great question, Jose, because if you are a seasoned investor and you have a framework for investing, you probably may have had this impulse where you're like, why should I even need another tool? How is AI going to help me? I know what I like, and I have my own set of processes to find companies that I think will be great investments. But I think we find once we start using the tools that they're strong in so many areas. So one is summarizing. AI can shortcut certain parts of your investing process. For example, I know some investors who won't invest in a company if they don't like the management team. I'm one of them. And especially the rules that are set out for management teams, incentives, et cetera. So you might be the type of investor who likes to look at a proxy statement earlier in the process. Well, AI tools can help you really get to the heart of what a proxy statement is trying to communicate. And that can get you to a quicker no decision to filter out a company that wouldn't suit your investment style. I think the other thing which is really important for me is just this quick exposure to increasing your understanding of key drivers of a business. So for me, I love to drill down into product, especially for tech companies. And there's only so much you can get out of reading SEC filings and reading product pages. I think LLMs have access to so much data they've been trained on that I find it much easier to ask a question, for example, about Lam Research's amazing tools and how they etch things onto silicon. Asking the LLM that gives me a much clearer and concise answer, and I can keep drilling down. And then there's one third thing that I think is so important. Discovery, the idea of discovering not just stocks, but things you didn't know in relation to what you're looking for is a very powerful concept. So when you communicate with an LLM, you're getting exposure to a neural network outside your own. So you and I are building our neural network all the time, Jose. You're reading up on the semiconductor industry, I know, and you're gathering that knowledge in your brain and you're forming connections between companies. And that helps you become a very incisive analyst. Well, an LLM will expose you to different connections that you might not see. So the more questions you ask about an industry or particular attribute about a company, the more you can surface that might have taken you more time. So it's really wonderful in that sense for making connections. I think it can enrich the experience of even a seasoned investor who understands already what they're looking for.
Those are some great points. And even someone like myself who has some experience with these tools and what they do, I like to go to these LLMs and go like, hey, can you explain this tool like I'm 5 years old, like I'm 10 years old, to make sure I understand kind of like the basic concept behind it.
I love that approach, Jose, and I think you're spot on. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about prompting, but there are two ways you can think about prompting. One is that there are very sophisticated, complex prompts, and they have their place in an investor's toolkits, but some of the strongest prompts are the simplest prompts. One of our investors at the Motley Fool, Kirsten Guerra, is very fond of a prompt, which is, I think, fantastic. Show me how this business makes money, or explain to me how this business makes money. Working with an LLM just at the very beginning of the process, if that's an approach you like, and having it explain to you how that company builds its business model can be a great way to get one up on other investors as you're trying to get a deeper understanding.
Well, Asit, I think you mentioned it or touched a little bit in this kind of the investor why, but what is like your maybe one or two ways that you're using AI to kind of either speed up your process?
So I'm using AI in two ways. If we had to just divvy them up into two big silos. The first is discovery. I'm very interested in using large language models to uncover companies that I might not be familiar with that fit my investing framework and investing knowledge, let's say, and even what I gravitate towards. So this is something that's fun if you have access to any amount of free tools. But if you happen to have a little bit of a programming bent, you can start maybe building a little bit of this for yourself to try to, let's say, connect an LLM to some data sources to start sifting through companies based on financial metrics. That's really fun. And you can also build in prompts that go deeper into certain topic areas that, again, are part of your investing framework. So the discovery part is something that's really in its infancy in investing artificial intelligence, but I think it's going to be very big as we become more and more familiar with these tools. Some of the focus will shift from just understanding how we can design great prompts for our own frameworks to understanding what's the best way to find a company that fits what I'm looking for. So this is a big part of my personal work. The second is knowledge enhancement. In my job, I'm responsible not only for finding new companies and recommending them, but I have to know scores of companies reasonably well because of some of the scorecards I work on at the Motley Fool. And there are a few companies, let's say 10 to 20 companies that I have to know extremely well, like very deep knowledge as part of my daily job. So I'm using LLMs in part to get a fine-grained, granular knowledge on some companies. That could be asking third or fourth order questions about Oracle's AI infrastructure. It could be trying to figure out what the impact of a global cocoa shortage has on the fortunes of Hershey and Company going forward. So the types of things that might have taken us a lot more time in the past to uncover and to just subsume in our own mental framework and keep up with, I think those are easier now. But I will tell you, as society becomes more productive, it just opens up more time to do more stuff. You never really feel like you can take half the day off and read a novel, right? You save some time, but there's so many other things that you need to know about. So unfortunately, it hasn't led to that kind of productivity gain.
I mean, I agree. It seems like no matter how much technology evolves, you're still always chasing the same end goal, but you just keep finding ways to make that race longer and longer.
Very much so.
Now, let's go back a little. How can we get started if you're new to AI? What are some tools, resources that investors might want to be familiar with?
So honestly, Jose, you'd get a better answer just querying this from ChatGPT than you will from me. And I mean that in the best way possible, that we should be using the models to ask questions that aren't evident, to go straight to the model and say, what if you were a beginning investor, or let's say you're a seasoned investor, but new to the tools, how would you proceed? I'll name a few tools that I think are great for investors, whether you're beginning, intermediate, or advanced. Obviously, you do ChatGPT. We use that sort of as a shorthand for LLMs. The latest versions, 4.0. The reasoning model, 1.0 is also very interesting. Anthropic, so Claude, Anthropic's version of ChatGPT is also very strong. At the Motley Fool on the investing team, we're using Notebook LLM by Alphabet quite a bit. We're really putting that through the paces, and I find that to be pretty good if you've got context that you want to then ask questions about. So load up a document, a transcript into Notebook LM, and then start posing questions. And you can save your chats with that. You can really go from one notebook to another and increase your knowledge base. That's a great and interesting tool. Llama, developed by Meta, is also very strong, I think, on the reasoning side. You can use Perplexity for search. That's a very interesting tool. And there are all sorts of plugins and automations now that are just popping up in the real world for those who are, let's say, Power Excel users. There are AI plugins now for Excel. So there are many tools out there that you can use, but I want to go back to a point you made at the very beginning, which is for those investors who have some trepidation about this, just jump in and start small and start simply. Now, for those of you who are power users, out there, I think it's important to stay abreast of what's coming ahead. So it's important to subscribe to different newsletters just to understand where foundational models are going and how that might be helpful to you in the future. So for next level thinking, very important to keep abreast, because that's the only way you're going to find out which models you can start playing around with and experimenting with.
But Asit, I mean, we're talking about AI like it's this super great thing. Can I personally just go to OpenAI and just tell me, hey, give me the 10 best stocks to buy now? Is that something that I should expect from AI at this moment?
Yeah, I think that's the limitation of where it is just now. I mean, you can do that, and honestly, it will give you the most obvious answers. But the most obvious answers over the past few years has been a winning strategy, right? If you had invested in big tech, you'd be doing pretty well today. Will it always be like that? No. And is it so easy to outsource your decision-making to LLMs? It's not. And what you'll find is that I think LLMs are more like extremely gifted young kids. So they have some experience of the world, but not all the experience of being an adult. They're really smart. So if you ask them a question, they usually know, if they don't know the answer, they know where to find it. But it doesn't replace human intuition and decision-making yet. Now, I look forward to the day where we see AI models that can come up with an investor preference and give a complete and winning portfolio that you can just plug and play and invest in and make a lot of money. The problem with that is the problem that's existed with markets since the get-go, is that information gets dispersed and tools become widely available. So the edge you might have, say it's an information edge, that gets diluted in the marketplace as more people get access to information. So if someone develops an LLM, which can just with a snap of a finger create a 30 stock portfolio that's going to absolutely trounce the market, pretty soon the competitors will also engineer that formula. So the money will flow equally and we'll see that edge dissipate. This means I think that it's always going to be a little fun to combine human expertise with LLM output. But yeah, you can't rely on LLMs for so many reasons right now. They still tend to do some hallucinating. Those investors who like to go a layer or two deep in data or questions on product, as I said, will still find, even though the models are improving, they make a lot of mistakes. So you can't rely on them in that sense. And I do think that, going forward, as they get better, it's an open question. And perhaps we'll be answering your question a lot less sarcastically in 2 years. But for now, that's how things.
Thank you, Asit. And we've talked a lot about prompting in this episode. So what are some, maybe 1 or 2 prompts you would encourage users to try when they're first trying AI at the moment?
So I'll reiterate that first one because I think it's so great. Explain how this business makes money. One that you can try, which is interesting because it's a part of the LLM knowledge that isn't quite as in-depth right now, is to ask, why should I trust this CEO or why should I distrust this CEO? So the intent of this question is to get at a very human skill. That's the ability to watch many videos, Jose, which I tend to do on companies that I have to know a lot about, and really assess management for their body language, for their ability to stay on message and not keep moving the goalposts or to conveniently forget about promises they made to shareholders quarters ago. LLMs can help with this, and you can give the LLM some guidance. For example, you can say, examine the last 10 transcripts of company X. Has management's message been consistent, or have they wavered, or have they started obfuscating? There are a number of ways you can tackle this, but I like LLM questions that now get to those higher level skills of investing. So try ones out that iterate on this concept. And again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, informing the AI of your intent. If you know what you like to look for, ask the AI to show you something else that looks like that thing. So for example, you develop a sophisticated prompt. Maybe in my case, it might be show me companies with rising free cash flow that have strong management teams in fast-moving industries with innovative products and a virtual tech or virtual edge. and a large market. So I might combine many attributes together that I personally look for and ask for a list of companies to come back. Once I go through that list, I might zero in on one company and then describe what I like about it. Hey, this one was interesting that you showed me. I like X, Y, and Z. Now, can you show me other companies that look like this? They don't have to be in the same industry. And I find that LLMs are really great at making connections like that, and they can help you with that discovery process. So that's an example of a prompt that I might use. Of course, as I mentioned before, I'm developing a system where I pull from a lot of data sources so that the LLM can comb through financial statements and ratios and such. But really, they have such a vast amount of knowledge, even models that you're using that have a cutoff date and can't access real-time financial data give you some surprisingly fun results when you ask that question.
Thank you for that, Asit. And just one final question. How is the platform like the Motley Fools adopting AI for pretty much that? How is it adopting AI and kind of evolving with this overall technology and huge shift we're seeing in artificial intelligence?
Well, Jose, the Motley Fool has embraced AI in every facet and form. We have for our members now thousands of articles that are being generated by artificial intelligence through our own proprietary methods that give you an update on news items and even give you bull and bear arguments on a stock. Now, we sprinkle in human analysis with these companies, but there's no way a small-ish team of investors can cover thousands and thousands of stocks to investor satisfaction or member satisfaction. AI is helping us do that. We also, in every facet of this company, are using AI tools, whether it's marketing, investing, our member services, any part of our company, you name it, we've embraced the tools and we're learning. We have for members of certain subscription levels some fascinating research tools, including a database called Moneyball, which scores companies based on their financial score, the quality of management, their innovation potential, metrics like returned on unlevered net tangible assets, sort of an obscure metric that Warren Buffett favors. It's just a fantastic database, which gives, I think, members an edge. It's our proprietary AI exploration and software that we're developing. So that's a benefit of membership, not to make a sell here for those who are considering a membership, but we think that AI is going to provide just so much benefit for investors who leap into it and embrace it. And we're aware of the risks, so we're very cognizant of where its limitations are. But we want to be, as we have been in our history, a company that puts members first. And that means working with the latest tools. It means going to the best sources for investment data. It means being able to put members in a place so that they can make the best decisions and we can make our best recommendations for them. So we really embrace AI, love it, and I think are going to keep innovating. I can't wait to see what we develop, talking about a year from today, where we are come December of 2025.
Definitely, Asit. And I think also that's what I'm most excited about, is just to see how companies like the Motley Fool and obviously in other consumer space, not just in the investing world, how they're going to incorporate AI into their own tools to make it better for us, the consumers. So Asit, I think this is the end of the episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me, for providing all this great information to the viewers. Thanks so much for joining us today. Last, before you go, I want to remind you about the Motley Fool's 2025 AI event. You can find out all the details at ai2025.fool.com. It's coming up on January 6th, and some of the Motley Fool's analysts will be sharing their #1 AI trend for 2025. And you're going to want to make sure to check it out, because the Motley Fool analyst team is going to be sharing one of their favorite AI stock ideas for 2025. Thanks again for watching today. See you next time on AI Edge here on the Motley Fool's YouTube channel.